Hello, everyone. Welcome to the channel for everything Arsenal and everything football. Thanks for being here. I hope you're all doing well. And welcome to the transfer window recap. And I have a guest with me to take you guys through. Sam, how are you?
I'm good, thank you very much. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm good. Are you better than you were 2 days ago?
Oh yes, it's Partey time. So happy, so happy we finally got that one through.
So before, let's say, after we won the FA Cup, before the season started, how many signings did you want to get yourself? How many signings did you want?
I think we needed at least 3 signings. I think we needed a good a good defender. I think we need, and I thought we needed 2 midfielders. I thought we needed a good defensive midfielder and a good attacking midfielder. That's what I thought we needed. Though at least 3, yeah.
And how many did you want sold?
Oh wow, a lot. I wanted a lot sold, really. For me, I can just start saying like Torreira, who we got rid of now on loan. We could let him go. Socrates, Mustafi, Kolasinac, Mavropanos. I don't know why we're still keeping him around on loan.
Not sure why.
El Neni, actually, he's surprised everyone, but before we saw him, I was ready to get rid of him as well.
Yeah.
There's so many players there we don't really need. Chambers as well, who we don't really need. They're not really improving us.
You did you realize you actually mentioned about 20 players? That's how bad we were.
Exactly.
You mentioned,
and we can't get rid of any of them. We can't get rid of any. Not sell them. We can't sell any of them.
Is it because yesterday I saw Smalling was sold for 18 million from Manu. So how comes you can't get even like 2 million for people like Mustafi at all?
I think it's a very strange process, but I think a lot of it's down to the wages as well, because they're paid so much for what they do. They're very average players and they have very high level wages. So any potential buying club, the agent and the player is going to say, well, I want the same money, and they're going to say, well, we're not going to pay you that, we're going to pay you less. So that's where most of it stops. Unless the player really wants to play football and take a pay cut like Mkhitaryan actually did. He decided he wanted to play for Roma, took a pay cut and left. If these other players don't want to take a pay cut, they can just stay at Arsenal and keep getting their extremely high wages.
Yeah, true. And what about the young players, the likes of Nketiah, Nelson, Willock? Any of them that you wanted to go out on loan?
I think Nketiah is giving us a good alternative to Lacazette. He's also scoring goals. So I think we need to keep him and keep playing him. I think maybe Willock can go out on loan. I think he can definitely benefit from some more first team football, regular playing time at a high level somewhere. Maybe not in the Premier League, but maybe somewhere he can play regularly. And the same with Reiss Nelson. I also think Reiss Nelson could benefit from a loan, because he's just not quite at that level now, because now we've got Willian, and eventually we'll have Martinelli back as well. Pepe might start now to look like he's doing something. So we don't really have room for Reiss Nelson at the moment. Saka as well. You look at Saka, who's doing well. So Reiss Nelson, I think we need to send him out on loan as well if he's going to play regular football.
Yeah, true. I agree with you. So before we even get to the transfers itself, after you saw those 4 games against Fulham, West Ham, Liverpool, and Sheffield, did you change your thoughts on who you're supposed to sign and who you're supposed to sell?
No, not really. For me, Gabriel has done an incredible job. He's shown that bringing in a good defender, how much that does for our defense. When he's played, our defense has looked very sturdy. He's looked a lot better with him playing. And then this is down to the midfield, where we're lacking that defensive stability and that creative spark. So the defensive and creative midfielders that I wanted, we definitely look like we can need them too.
Yeah, true. I agree with you. So, as you said, you expected 3 players and a few to be sold, and let's do a quick recap on the transfer window as a whole. First, we had someone called Mkhitaryan. I'm still so frustrated with this deal because I expected us to get at least 5 million. Or what was your thoughts on him? Did you just want him gone completely, or did you want to get something for him?
Well, of course, we wanted to get some money for him. Of course, we always want to do that with every player. But it gets to a situation where the only way you can do it at the end of the day, after a long time of negotiation, is basically Roma saying and the player saying, "Okay, the player saying, okay, I can take a pay cut and go to Roma and agree to go to them." But Roma, as like a compensation, they don't want to pay a transfer fee. So, I think that was a deal that they hashed out just to get rid of him. And no, of course, I'm not 100% happy with it, but at least we got his wages off our books, right? Because it was something like 180k or something like that. So it's 180k we got off our books, which at the end of the day is good.
We are actually still paying for such bad transfers. This was one of them that should never have happened. Were you excited when you got him instead of Sanchez? Because I was like, okay, I didn't want Sanchez to go, but I was like, you know what? Maybe he can do well with Aubameyang at Arsenal.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking initially, I was thinking, yeah, this might work because of their previous, relationship in Dortmund, Aubameyang and him. But then when we saw him playing, it was just so hot and cold, wasn't it? One game was good, the next game was bad. And then all of a sudden, he just wasn't really playing well at all. So, yeah, he became a bit of a flop.
Yeah, I mean, we bring Gary.
Hello.
Gary, there he is.
Hey, hello, Glenn. Hello, Sam.
Hi, Gary. How you doing? Doing
good.
All right. Well, you won't be doing good anymore. We are talking about Mkhitaryan. What did you think about Mkhitaryan going on a free? I was just asking Sam, did you want to get some money for him or did you just want him gone?
I think we could have got something for him. I think there's no way they wanted him and they didn't want to pay for him. No way. I mean, I understand his salary, wages, and stuff like that may have been the deterrent, but if he's worthy for Roma, then there's another team that probably would have paid for him. I think, anyways. I'm just going by what I feel right now, but I know they probably thought, it's easy just to let him go, and if that's the case, they could have done that to a lot of other players that we don't really want sitting around, basically just hanging around doing nothing. It's a bad look, right? You've got others on the bench just sitting there not doing anything. Let them go.
I was just asking Sam before we got to Mkhitaryan. After we won the FA Cup, how many players did you want to come in and how many players did you want to go out?
There's a lot I would have liked to see go out. I doubt that can actually happen in one window. So I assume some would stay. I was of the mindset that they should at least try to get as much money as they could, because that was the biggest deterrent for improving the team, was that they just didn't have whatever funds they needed to bring in the players they wanted. So I would have been okay if they let Leno go, because I figured he would bring in more money. I figured I could get something for Guendouzi. Torreira is definitely somebody who just doesn't play. So if he's not going to play, then they might as well try to get something for him. Which those two of the players they were able to get. The goalie, they could have gone either way for me. I could have taken either one of those goalies. I just assumed they wanted more money than they wanted whatever the better form goalie was at that time.
Since he's brought up the goalies, Sam, were you happy with Martinez going? Because I felt like we could still have kept both.
Yeah.
Well, I understood it was a difficult situation for Martinez because he had stepped up and shown that he was a very good goalkeeper and that he's good enough to start, top level games. And I don't think he was prepared when they obviously sat down and had that meeting not long before the start of the season. They sat down and they decided that Leno was going to be number one and Martinez was going to have to be backup, at least for the Premier League. I think that's when Martinez then decided, well, he doesn't want to be backup. And, you got to remember that it's the player who wants to have a career and progress and do the best he wants for himself. He's not going to stay as number two at Arsenal. When he's shown what he can do at that level. When he really showed he was as good, maybe even arguably better than Leno. He's not going to stay sitting on the bench. He's going to want to move on, and that's exactly what I think we sort of expected would happen. And and then it was a matter of Arsenal just to try and get the most money for him as possible. And in my opinion, I don't think we got as much money for him as we should have. But listen, it's a difficult climate now with everything that's been going on, all the situation we have now. It's a difficult negotiating climate. But at the end of the day, selling him for 20 million when you see how much other goalkeepers who are not even as good as him go for, it's a bit disappointing. But at the same time, everyone uses that argument. Well, he was a backup. He only played 15 games, etc., etc., etc. But for me, he was at that level. It's at the level he was at, showed that he was worth a hell of a lot more. But at the end of the day, I think the club did what they could and got the money for him. And the real disappointing thing has been not to be able to sell any other player. Really, that's the most disappointing thing.
Yeah, true. I agree. And Gary, I'll give you Guendouzi first. What do you feel about Guendouzi? Did you want him gone, or did you want him to get another chance? How did you feel about his story?
Yeah, I feel like he's got it. I think he got his chances. I think the team told him what they needed, and this is going to be the same no matter where he goes. They're going to ask certain things of him, things that he may want to do or may not want to do, but that's just the way the team runs. And he's going to run into that situation again. I don't think this is going to be a new thing for him. I think he's going to find it difficult because at some point, after Bertha, where he went, they're going to want the same. They're going to want him to, do certain things that he may not want, right? So I have a feeling he's going to run in that situation again. He's got to mature. If he wants to get where he wants to be. I'm surprised that the French team picked him up as well. I found that kind of interesting that they still picked him up, even though he's not even on our team sheet, much less a player that sits on the bench. So I think that's so far I guess the talent wins out no matter what, right? And he shows that because he's not playing and he's still wanted. But I think he needs to mature, and then he'll be fine. So.
Sam, are you going to be patient and wait for him to mature, or you sell him next summer?
It depends what he does at Hertha Berlin. I mean, if he plays well there and he's one of their key players and his head is screwed on correctly and he shows a good attitude and he matures, then I'll be willing to give him another chance. I really would, because for me, I think he's a good player. I think he does a lot for us that other players don't. And I was actually, sad to see him go on from a footballing perspective. But of course, as a character, his attitude is poor, and he's immature, and he's not the right profile or the right fit for Arteta and what he wants to do. So I can understand that was a conflict they had, and that's why he's had to go. But if he matures now, which I think is what he needs to do. If he matures and he grows, proper character and a good attitude, and he plays up to the ability he can, I think he can come back to our midfield and really add to our midfield. I really do.
Last season, I think it was the Aston Villa game and Tottenham game, he really dominated it, dominated both games. Was there a time you also preferring Guendouzi and Torreira in the middle, Sam?
Yes, exactly. Guendouzi was winning balls. He was good with distribution. He could pass the ball forwards. There wasn't so much this passing backwards. He could actually pass the ball forwards. He could carry the ball as well a bit. To me, he was an impressive player. Yes, he was struggling a bit defensively, with his positioning and things like that. That's something he can learn, of course. But he's not really a defensive player. He's more of a transitional player. More of a deep lying playmaker that he'll get the ball from someone and move it on and distribute it. And and that's what he was really good at. And there's a couple of things that people forget with him that they gloss over very easily when they talk about him, because they're so focused on his character and, you know, saying the stupid things and doing the stupid things he did off the pitch. But you got to remember that the season before last, this kid was in the senior France national squad in midfield. He was in their squad. You don't get into the senior national team if you're not good. You don't do it. Didier Deschamps called him up because they had a couple of players who had to bow out to injury or whatever it was, and they called him up. He came into the squad. You don't do that if you're not good. I mean, the French national team, they're one of the top teams in the world. You don't do that if you're not good. And second of all, he was also that season nominated among the top 20 talents in Europe, you know, the FIFA Golden Boy award or whatever it's called. He was nominated for one of the top 20 talents. You don't get nominated to be one of the top 20 talents if you're not good. Yeah, you know, true. So people forget these things that, you know, from a footballing perspective, he's got a lot to show still, and I think he's got a lot to give us at Arsenal if he develops correctly now, does the right things, and of course he has to mature and be able to take part in Arteta's plan, you know, from a character's point of view as well, not just the footballing.
Yeah, I think just one thing to keep in mind is that on his team now, there's a teammate, Saka, who's also one of those up and coming youngsters in the field, and just you look at their body of work and what they do often on the field, and what the coach asks of them. You know, he does basically kind of the opposite to some degree as to what Guendouzi's doing, as far as being there, doing whatever he needs to get on the field. He'll play anywhere he wants. He just wants to play. And, you know, now he's playing with the senior national team now, right? Because of some mistakes by some youngsters doing things that they were asked not to do, and they did it, right? So I think
exactly.
It's right there. There's an example of how to do it right there on his team. I mean, they could be playing next to each other in certain games, in certain spots of the game, and you can see the difference between the two. I know he might be a year older or two, right? But it's right there, an example of how you present yourself and what you want to, what kind of team player do you want to be. So I think, like I said, I want him to. He needs time. He may need time to be away, like you said, get himself sorted out. Feel like the world's against me. I'm going to do this for myself. Go out there and do it. Showcase his skills, and then realize, look, because that's the same thing that happened to Alba, right? Before he came, he was like a problem child, and people were like, is it gonna work when he gets here? And he's shown the maturity, I think, from those days back when he was in Germany, and been a totally different player, I think, than the one that we were, people thought we were going to get when he came. So, yeah.
So, Gary, without considering how he does next season, would you bring him back next summer? Yes or no?
I think I probably wasn't before Sam started talking, but I think another reason why is I think that we can't afford to let talent like that just walk out the door, especially if we're not going to get top dollar for it. And I have a feeling that we may not get the money we want from him, so why let him leave? We've done that with Martinez, and I thought that was a bad idea to let him go for a discount. We can't be doing that going forward, right? I mean, what we did at the end of this transfer period, hopefully, is how we do our business, right? We get something out of the deal as well, right? So we need help in the middle. He's the guy. He's one of the, we got him. So maybe it works out. Hopefully, it works out.
Yeah. Sam, I'll give you the next one. Torreira, how do you feel about him? I mean, he came to our team. We said he's the pit bull we needed in the middle, scoring that goal against Tottenham, tackles, all that. We were so happy with him scoring at Anfield twice. What went wrong with him?
Well, I think there's a combination of things, really, both on and off the pitch. I mean, I think on the pitch, Emery sort of messed around a bit too much with him tactically. They started off using him where he should be used in that deep line, defensive role, just protecting the back four. cleaning up, going around tackling, and he did that quite well. But for me, when he actually had the ball, that's where he disappointed me. I thought his distribution was quite poor. Yes, he was good at tackling. He was good at getting at people's feet and everything. But as soon as he had the ball, his passing was not really that great for me. And then Emery, all of a sudden, Emery decided he wanted to do something strange. Well, not strange, unorthodox, by using him further up the pitch to try and win. I think that's to try and win the ball further up the pitch, so that we create more chances than if we win the ball further up the pitch. So it became like this close to attacking midfielder position, which he just couldn't handle that at all. He was completely useless in that position, and he kept being used in that position, and it didn't help him at all, of course. He kept underperforming, so that didn't help him. But also off the field as well, I think he struggled personally. I don't think he's liked England. I don't think he's liked the climate. I don't think he's liked London very much. He just seems like he's always been a bit unhappy with life there at Arsenal, and he just overall hasn't really been a good fit for the club. And one last thing I just want to mention about him is also, I think for me, he's not really strong enough for the Premier League. He's too small. He's too light. Yes, he's like a little bulldog, and he can run around your feet like that little dog. But you can just kick him away, right? It's just like that little funny dog. That he'll run around your feet all day and try and get the ball off you. But all you have to do is kick him away with your left toe. And that's what he was like for me. Just too small and too light for the Premier League.
Gary, do you agree with him?
Yeah, no, definitely that he his size definitely hinders the type of style of play that he wants to present, right? I mean, he's getting hurt as well, right? He's not able to play back to back games that we want to have out of that position, and he's had to sit on the sidelines with the injuries. So, yeah, I think definitely. I mean, when he's good, but I don't know if the consistency is there in the sense that can he be on the field? Can he play every game that we need him to? And like they said, him being in London just probably wasn't the right fit for him. So if this helps him out, then that's also that's good for him, and hopefully good for us as well if we're able to get the fees we want. Just one thing before we get to the next subject. The one thing that I did, one of the things that I noticed when I was watching, this is back to Guendouzi, is one thing that I noticed is that when he played with Xhaka, and I'm sorry to bring that name up as well, but when he played with him, one of the things that I noticed is that if you're a young and up and coming player and you're playing with Xhaka, the old Xhaka, not the one we see now with Arteta, but the one before, where he's destined to get a yellow. I always thought he was going to get a yellow in every game he played. He puts himself in bad situations. He runs over. He's tracking the ball back, and for some reason he doesn't realize that if the player with the ball just stops, he's going to run through him. And time again, he did the exact same thing. And I saw it from Guendouzi as well, and I was like, you know what? He's seen that before. And maybe that's if you're up and coming, you want to have that player next to you that's going to show you how to perform in that position on the field. And I don't think he had the right mentor at the time on the field that he needed, and maybe that's why things didn't go so well for him as well. But maybe he'll get the mentorship that he needs, being away from where we are now, and we'll see when he comes back. But that's just a thought that I had that I always remembered watching, and I was like, ooh, that didn't help him, I don't think, in his progression.
Yeah. Okay. We've talked about Torreira, Mkhitaryan, and Guendouzi. So, Sam, is there a defender that you really had in mind that you really wanted to be signed?
Well, I think the one we was all excited about early on was Upamecano. He looked like a very good, young, strong defender. There was also talks of Umtiti from Barcelona. As a bigger, more strong defender. But again, they're expensive players, and doubts coming to Arsenal. I think we also sort of had hopes about Saliba as well, right? That Saliba was going to come in and give us that new dimension in our defense that we've been lacking, and it just hasn't happened, has it, for him, the poor guy? But But Gabriel was to be honest, I hadn't really seen much of Gabriel when he was signed. I heard good things about him, and yeah, he definitely wasn't. He wasn't the defender I was expecting us to sign. But he turned out to be one hell of a defender, right? I mean, wow, what a player! But no, he's not. He wasn't the player I expected. I was hoping for like an Upamecano or an Umtiti, that kind of player. Koulibaly too expensive, and also Koulibaly for me not as good as his reputation is. We played him twice. We played him twice in the Europa League when we played Napoli, and he was average. He was average in both games. So his 90 million euro price tag is just too much. I think that's also why we've seen that he hasn't gone to City or Chelsea as well. He's just too expensive for what he is. But yeah, I was hoping for like an Upamecano or an Umtiti, but I'm happy with more than happy with Gabriel, who is a real gem. I mean, for 22 million, something like that, with some bonuses added on top. Wow, what a gem he is.
Gary, do you feel the same about Gabriel? How excited were you when you signed him?
Well, when we signed him, once again,
like, who
is yeah, exactly. Yeah. Who is this guy? And then I think just like Kieran Tierney, the season before, we pick up somebody who's either there's some issues about them, but maybe they'll be good, and they come in and they showcase themselves, and you're like, all right, that was a good pickup. Even though we took the risk. Tierney's was probably the risk because of the injuries. As long as we can keep him healthy, he'll be fine. Yeah. Gabriel is a little bit of an unknown for us, I think. So I'm enjoying watching him play. Hoping to see him play more. Looking forward to and then with Partey in front of him now, and I think when you've got that spine going that we want, we would talk about the spine all the time, and now we've got a pretty good spine right now with the players that we have in the middle of the pitch. So I'm looking forward to this. So, yeah. I mean, you could tell from the first game that Tierney played when he was healthy, and you could tell from the first game when Gabriel played that, I think we got a good one there. And, you didn't wonder, okay, does it get better? You saw pretty much all of the potential they had. And, I'm liking that. And then, that's why when I hear sometimes is Partey going to sit out and not play, and I'm like, you know what, maybe, I don't know. I think players that come in, if they're worthy, they should get the playing time, especially if you're putting you're spending that money on them, which means that you think that they're worth it. I think they need to play, and they need to get more acclimated to the team, because the longer they sit out, the longer it takes for us to have a team that's cohesive, with some cohesiveness, and be able to understand where that his team is going to be when he's playing. So definitely enjoy.
Sam, what has excited you most about Gabriel so far? Is it the pace? Is it the tackling, the blocks, the aerial ability?
I'll tell you what, he's got everything. The kid has everything. What's really impressed me is his strength and his aerial ability. I mean, he wins every single header. The kid never loses. I've never seen anything like it. He wins every single header. He's strong. He's big and strong, and at the same time, he's fast. So, he's over the first 10, 15 yards, he's quick. And at the same time, he can play the ball. He can play the football. He's good with the ball at his feet. So he is a very, very well-rounded, all-round defender. He does everything, and I just can't believe he's this good so quickly. I think he's taken everyone by surprise how impressive he is already. Just after the first game, basically, and so far he's just about been man of the match in just about every game for us, hasn't he? According to the Arsenal website. I mean, he's just about been man of the match in every game. It's incredible, and he's scored on his debut as well. Amazing.
Were you surprised he didn't play against Liverpool in the Premier League game?
I was surprised. On one, I could understand the thinking behind it, because I think the thinking behind it was to maybe give him a little bit of a rest, not try him against the best team. He'd already been playing, and everything. But at the same time, when he's our best defender, For me, he should be playing, but I can understand why he wasn't playing. But yeah, I would have liked to have seen him play.
How about you, Gary? Would you have liked to see him play that game?
Definitely would have liked to have seen him play against Liverpool. I mean, I think he would have helped us as much, And I was looking forward to seeing that, and hopefully we'll see. Hopefully we'll see it against Man City. The one thing that, we've said is that he's pretty strong, and that wasn't, we got to see that when he took on Antonio and basically put him to the ground. I mean, when's the last time we see one of our defenders be able to, go toe to toe with some of the tough players that are out there, and say no, I'm not going. You're going down, not me. And I think that's one of the things that we would get bullied at sometimes in the middle. So when those players that are just brutes that come in there, push their way around, I don't think that's going to happen as much with Gabriel there. So yeah, I like him, and I'd like to see more of him. That's all. So yeah.
Okay, the next one, Sam, is Ceballos. When Ceballos went, were you praying that he comes back, or he came back, or were you wanting someone else?
I wanted him to come back because I think he's a useful player. I think he's proven now since he came back that he is a good player for us. He's that player that does. I'll tell you what, Ceballos is an interesting player because he does a bit both ways. He will attack, and also he will win balls as well. He's actually good at tackling. He's good at reading the game. He's actually good at reading the. I'm not saying he's a defensive. He's not a defensive midfielder, but he can still tackle, win balls, and he reads the game so well. He cuts off balls as well, and he's great in transition like that. When he gets the ball and moves forward, he's good at finding those passes. Like the pass we saw him make. I can't remember which game it was, but it ended up with that great goal that he basically just sliced the ball through the defence, and it ended up with that cross that then became the goal. I think it was Aubameyang scored. I can't remember which game it was now, but anyway, he's shown that he has a great pass as well, and I think Ceballos definitely has a lot to give to us because he is that interesting type of player that, as I said, he can do a bit without. He can do a lot without the ball and a lot with the ball.
Yeah, true. And Gary, Ceballos, did you want him to come back?
Definitely. I felt like he provided a lot. He does. I believe he does. His work on both the offensive and defensive sides is pretty good. I wasn't expecting him to have to do as much defense, but he's shown he can handle that as well because we need that in the middle as well. So when he does, put his mind to it, he's been, I think, just as good on the offensive side as on the defensive side. So I like that. I figured when it was the pairing, Xhaka and Ceballos there that so Xhaka would be more the defensive side, but I sometimes feel like Ceballos is actually out there doing more defensive work, and I'm like, and he's doing good defensive work when he's out there. So, so I've enjoyed that. So yeah, I'm definitely glad he came back. The issue we have now is whether, will we be able to keep him? Will he, every time he has a good game, is that another another pull for him to go back? So. Yeah.
So, Gary, if they asked for 35 million, would you pay it?
Well, it all depends on if we're getting our war, right? Is that 35 that we spend plus whatever extra we're gonna have to pay? Is that gonna get us our war? And if that's the case, then I think probably he might have to go back, right? So, I would like to keep him, but I don't know if we can. If we can improve ourselves with a better player, then we might have to do that to sacrifice his presence on the team. I mean, I do think we may have some young players that can help with help support the better players that we have, the starters that we have. So hopefully, when those players get healthy, because I think that's the goal as well, right? There's a chance that he may not come back, or they may not want him to come back. So we need to prepare for that, and we have players, I think, on the field that are on the team that could help at least support, maybe not be our first 11, but definitely can support in that midfield range area. So,
yeah, Sam, is there no way we can fit Ceballos and Aouar in the same team?
If you can play three in the middle. We can try them too. I mean, you have Partey deep, and you have Ceballos maybe in between, and Aouar slightly further up, maybe even in like a midfield three. Maybe that would work because Ceballos can do defensive work as well. So, maybe that would work. I would give it a try, definitely, if we got Aouar. I wouldn't necessarily give back Ceballos. I think Ceballos is a good midfielder to have around because he does different things. And, there's other midfielders I'd rather get rid of before him, to be honest.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. The next one, is this the biggest signing of our transfer window, Sam? Is this the biggest signing?
I'll tell you what, as it stands, it probably is in the terms of how important he is to what he already does to our club. I mean, not only being the captain and all of that, but I mean the goals, right? I mean the guy scores so many important goals. He's our top goal scorer. He scores 20 plus goals a season. Yeah, and without him, we know we'll be struggling very, very much the last couple of seasons if it wasn't for him. So definitely great to tie him down on a new contract and not see him leave, because I think if he would have left, that would have been a very, very, very difficult hole to fill. Very difficult hole to fill.
Gary, did you expect him to stay, or you just thought he was going to go? He was gone.
I thought the longer it went, the longer I felt he was going to go, because I assumed he'd be one of the first ones to say, so that they could use that as kind of, the snowball effect, and maybe be able to pick up players that we probably wouldn't have if they know he may be out of the door. So I'm happy they got him. I would have liked to seen him come sooner. I don't know, I feel like the time that we knew he was coming, and then from the time we got the announcement. Those are times I think probably could have been spent trying to get the other players that we wanted, So I feel like there may have been some time, at least for me. I'm not in those meetings, but I would like to feel like they were working on other things once they knew he was coming. But I thought he would have been the first one to decide to stay, and then they could build on that momentum, because they can bring in all the new players that they wanted, because they knew that at least Arsenal still had their top scorer, one of the top scorers in Europe, still on their team, and that's a plus when you got 30 plus goals in all competitions up top there.
Yeah, Sam. That day he got announced, were you busy on your phone, computer, worrying and waiting, or did you hear about it later?
No, I was when all the rumors started and everything on Twitter and everything, I was updating all day long. I was ready for that announcement, and they did that whole live stream thing. My God, they milked it, didn't they? They really milked that, didn't they? For days before, and then the actual announcement of the live stream and everything that took like half an hour before he actually said that he had signed. I was like, what the hell is going on? He's in the locker room, in the changing room, and then he's got that mask, and then he's walking out to the pitch, and he's talking to his friends on the phone, on Instagram, and it's like, what's going on?
That's the same thing they did with Gabriel. They took ages to announce him, but we finally got it done. Last question on Aubameyang. Were you concerned, or are you concerned about it being 350k, 400k, 500k, or you just wanted him to stay?
Well, of course, you start thinking about Ozil and things like that. But for me, Aubameyang is much more important than what Ozil was. I mean, he really is our main man, and the thing is, it's market value, right? I mean, that is, you look at what Gareth Bale is paid. You look what Aaron Ramsey is paid. If those guys get paid that amount, then paying him, I don't know what his contract is supposed to be worth, about 300k or something now that they're saying, or 350k.
Yeah, 300, I think, with the bonuses and all of that included, I believe.
So when you look at what Aaron Ramsey and Gareth Bale and all of them are paid, then Aubameyang deserves that money because he's actually done something for it, right? So he definitely deserves it.
Yeah, Gary, did it concern you?
I think there's probably a number out there that I would have been concerned about. Like the 400 range, but but I think that the fact that they didn't go over Ozil's weekly wages was pretty good. That they were able to keep it below that because he's worth as much as Ozil, I think. And we wouldn't be able to say no to that because if he wanted to stay and he said this is my number, then you're gonna probably have to do it. Yeah. I mean, I think he actually gave, to some degree, maybe have given us a discount. It doesn't seem like it, but I think, like you said, it's, how much is a 30 goal a year, striker cost? They cost a lot of money. There's not that many out there. There's not that many out there.
That's exactly. I mean, you look at what we're going to pay him now for the end of his contract. That money we're paying him, and you compare that to the type of striker we need to bring in, how much they would cost. You're looking at a striker that's at least 60, 70 million plus to do the same thing he does. So we're paying him a lot less than that, right? So it makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah. So that was Aubameyang, of course. Biggest signing of the summer. We'll see when I ask you guys the questions at the end. Gary, what do you feel when you see this picture? How do you feel when you see Kolasinac, still an Arsenal player?
Oh boy. I guess I'm laughing because I don't want to cry. You know what I mean? I'm just laughing because I don't want to cry. As I've said multiple times, him being on the team is basically all of the bad business that Arsenal's done over the last number of years just coming to roost. I mean, this is what happens when you don't do the right things in the past. They just come back to haunt you later, and he's shown it. I mean, I kind of feel like we could put anybody in his position. I think we could put Saka and play that position, and I think I would not bat an eye because I know Saka, at least from what I've seen, pretty much can play wherever he wants. Will he give me exactly everything? No, but I won't feel like I'm losing too much because the pros are just as good as or more than I think the cons when he's out there. So I feel like we have some good players on our team that can multitask and take on different roles. And does he need to play? I don't think so. I mean, I would have liked to see him go. I mean, I don't like when a player says I want to fight for my position because if you did, then you would probably go somewhere else because if the team's putting you up for a transfer, that means that they're okay if you go. And it just it doesn't help us out when they say that and then they stay and then we'll see if he plays, right? See if he plays. I mean, there's two players right now that aren't going to be on the roster, right? And depending on how they proceed, how they decide to go with that, he could be one of those players, right? But we'll see how. Yeah.
Now that he's here, do you play him? Because realistically, he's the backup for Tini. He's still the backup because I don't want Saka to be playing left back again.
I still think Arteta probably will use him as backup or to rotate with Tini. Unfortunately, I really wish he wasn't here. I know we was close to getting him out the door. I don't know what it was that stopped it at the end. Maybe it was a transfer fee or something like that. But yeah, we were close to getting rid of him, and nope, unfortunately we couldn't. And so we stuck with him. And the less we play him, the better for us, definitely, because he's a heart attack waiting to happen, isn't he? I mean, watching him play just gives you a heart attack.
He was signed as the best left back from Germany. What happened?
Well, that's the thing, he was in the team of the year, wasn't he? When he played for Schalke, he was in the Bundesliga team of the year. And this is the thing, there's quite a few players who they come from the Bundesliga, top level. They've been playing top level, in the Bundesliga, and they come to the Premier League and they don't perform. Because I think there's quite a transition from the Bundesliga to the Premier League in terms of how more difficult it is to perform well in the Premier League. You've got less time on the ball. That's what everyone says straight away. You've got less time on the ball, so You imagine. I mean, I don't know if you guys have actually played football, but if you play football at quite a high level, you don't have much time on the ball. You've really got to think quickly. You actually got to think. Really, you got to think before you get the ball. You got to know what you're doing before you get the ball. And then when you're used to a certain pace and a certain amount of time on the ball, that's already very, very difficult to handle. All of a sudden, you go into a league where you have less time. You got to think quicker. You got to move quicker. That is so hard to get into, I think. And at the same time, it's more physical. It's quicker. The pace is quicker. So the Premier League is a hard league to come to for most players, and we see this with Bundesliga players all the time. They come to the Premier League, and they don't do as well as they do back in the Bundesliga. It's a hard transition.
Okay. Yes or no? Try and sell him again in January. Yes or no?
Get rid of him. Get rid of him because the guy's a liability. He really is. I'd rather like Gary said, I'd rather use Saka there. I would even use Maitland-Niles there. I think Maitland-Niles can play left back as well. I'd rather do that than have Kolasinac, because Kolasinac, you can see the guy just has no clue. He really doesn't.
Gary, for Kolasinac, you said you laugh to avoid crying. I don't know how much you're going to avoid crying here. What do you think when you see Olympiacos in the same picture with Socrates? You see Olympiacos and Socrates. What do you think?
Oh, okay. Now I'm crying. No. Once again, I don't think we'll miss him, right? So, once again, he might. Like I said, there's two players that aren't going to be on this list. There's many that, that probably could be on the list because of injuries and stuff like that, but they may come back sooner. So, once again, another player that I don't think we've missed him, right? And I don't think he's played. Has he played much this year? I don't even know if he's played this season much.
Not really.
So I don't. So I think we're not missing him. So potentially he'll be one of those players that just. Because of the way it's because of mismanagement, not because of them themselves, but for mismanagement in the past, they may have somebody's going to have to sit, and I'd rather sit somebody who we can do without essentially than somebody who may potentially come back and be able to give you something with it before the next window. So
Sam, was he one of the guys in your top 3 players to be sold?
Yes, Socrates was definitely top 5. Because there's so many players I'd like to see sold, but yeah, he's right up there because he's just not good enough for the Premier League, unfortunately. He's a strong guy, but that's about it. His strength is a good thing, but he's slow. He's poor at reading the game. He's not that great with the ball at his feet. He's a third or fourth choice centre back, right? So we can definitely get rid of him. He's not what we need. So I'd rather, to be honest, we loaned out Ballard now, Danny Ballard to Blackpool, our under 23, one of our under 23 centre backs. And for me, what I've seen from the under 23s, the highlights I've seen from there, I'd rather have Danny Ballard than him, to be honest, because then we've got an under 23 player who can come through and maybe shine, because he looks good as well, to be honest. Danny Ballard, he's going out in Blackpool now to get regular first team football.
Yeah, I was listening to a different video, and I think it was James Rowe. He was talking about 2 of our center backs that are out on loan, and I think it's McGuinness and Ballard. Basically, they're out there, and from what I saw from them, I'm like, well, potential looks there. But
Ballard's a big kid, He's a big kid. He's tall. He's like 6'4". He's strong, really good in the air. He's a real classic centre back, but quite athletic as well. And he looks good. He really does. I'd love to see him. Come into the first team maybe next season or something like that.
Yeah.
No, this guy when he joined us, he was big, a beast. What we need, the real Greek freak. Forget about Giannis in NBA. This was the real deal. Like Sam, what happened to him? Like we were so excited when we got him, especially his physicality.
Well, I wasn't very excited because he wasn't exactly he didn't come with a huge reputation. But yeah, like you say, he was a strong player, and we liked seeing his physicality because he could knock players around and he could win some balls in the air. But the problem was every time he had the ball at his feet, there was something wrong happening, right? It was he's so slow with the ball, and then there's often passes going in the wrong direction, and then he would be found out positionally. It was easy to run past him as well, really, wasn't it? Because he doesn't really have much pace. So unfortunately, he wasn't really that suited to the Premier League, apart from his strength. He's got that strength about him, but that's about it.
Gary, the next one. This guy was always an awful player, but post-lockdown, I thought we had signed Cannavaro. I thought Cannavaro was back, and I thought we had the new Cannavaro. What do you think about Mustafi? Would you sell him? Or do you hate him?
Oh my God, this guy's a fraud.
This is that. This is the magic that Arteta can provide. He shows us magic every day, and this is one of those where he took his magic wand and tapped it on Mustafi and was able to get something out of him that we didn't think we would be able to see. More than not, we're seeing him play decent football out there, and him getting injured was kind of like, oh man. As soon as, and this is what happens, right? As soon as a player, like this is back in the days, many years ago, every time somebody had a string of 2 or 3 games, they would get injured, come back, and we never see that again for a little while. And I'm hoping it's not the same for him, but he, I think under Arteta, he definitely showed, and after that break, he definitely showed, what what we can get out of him. He's definitely a good backup when we need it, and then we may not need it, but we need him based on what's going on with, with what's coming in and what could be coming in. But yeah, he's definitely got touched by Arteta, and I think it worked out in our favor when we needed him. I mean, he's had really good games, and that's been the thing. We've had really good games from him, and then we've had moments, right, where you're like, what are you doing on the ground? Get up, please, get up. And he's sometimes when he's going to ground, we're in trouble. It's like
this guy is very funny. If there's no Eddie Murphy movie on TV, you can come and watch this guy. He's pure comedy. Like what I like about him, Sam, you see the way Shaka had that incident with the fans. Mustafi doesn't care. He gets so much abuse on Twitter, Instagram. You look at his face. He just doesn't care what you fancy. He doesn't care. So was he also in your top 3 for being sold?
Maybe not my top 3, but definitely someone we could sell. And actually, he was someone I thought we would be able to sell and get some money for. Not a lot of money, but I thought he was good enough with a big enough reputation to maybe get like a 10, 15 million at least, maybe, I was thinking. I definitely thought that, but apparently no one wants him either. So, we've got all these players that nobody wants. We've got the league of nobodies, basically. So,
so many defenders.
But Mustafi, it's a fascinating story with Mustafi. This guy is so lucky. He should be playing the lottery every week. That's how lucky he is, because the guy he was so lucky back when Germany won the World Cup.
Yeah,
he got into the squad because one of the other defenders got injured last minute and dropped out of the squad. And he was called in. He was called in last minute just to fill in the squad, and that's how he became a World Cup winner. He didn't really get in the squad; he was backup. He became a World Cup winner, and that gave him his reputation. He played okay back in Germany. Then he went to Valencia because they wanted a defender and they got hold of him. And Valencia, and Gary Neville had him at Valencia. The 5 minutes Gary Neville was Valencia manager. It was about 5 minutes or 7 minutes or something like that. And he said they wanted to sell Mustafi. They identified him as a player they wanted to get rid of. And no one wanted him because they saw all these mistakes in him. No one wanted him. But because of this fantastic thing that sometimes, we talk a lot about stat DNA and everything. Sometimes it does a lot of good, but other times it does a lot of bad. Well, stat DNA showed that Mustafi was like Van Dijk, basically, because he was great at intercepting balls and he was great at there's 2 or 3 stats that he was really good at, and it made him look like a fantastic player. And that's what made Wenger interested in buying him. But Gary Neville said he's not very good. You see him play. That's the thing. Where's the scouting? You've still got to scout a player to see what they look like when they actually play. And I don't think we actually did that. It was just going off of stats. And Gary Neville said they couldn't sell him. They tried for a while to sell him. And then all of a sudden, Wenger and Arsenal came out of the blue and they said, here you go, here's £35 million. This guy, the luck on this guy, honestly, he should be playing lottery every single week.
It makes me cry, Sam. It makes me cry.
I want to see this DNA software because there's got to be a bug in there or something.
It's an anomaly. That's an anomaly. That's an anomaly with him. It must be. There's something wrong there.
Something's wrong with that logic if it comes out that way. Because I've yet the stats that you're talking about. I don't think I've seen him do any of that stuff.
This is before. This is before. It was like apparently the stats on him were like really good, but Gary Neville was like, yeah, the stats might be good, but you actually see him play, he's not very good. And that's the thing with him. Yes, and I agree completely with what you guys are saying. Yes, Arteta has made him better because I think Arteta has sat him down and said, "Listen, let's simplify things. Let's take things back to the drawing board. Let's just make things easy. You don't have to make things fancy and hard and difficult. Just do the simple things. Do it easy. Do it right, and then that way you just do things the right way, and that helps you a lot, right?" So I think he should simplify things with him, which has made him better. And that's great for us. It's made him. But the thing is, his better is average for everyone else. That's how bad he is. When he goes from what he was to basically doing what he should be doing, we're all of a sudden we're like, wow, he's really good. He's not really good. He's just doing what he should be doing. And but the thing is, like I've said before, and other people say, he's a player you still just can't trust him. You just can't trust him. Every time he plays, even after Arteta has improved him, every time I see him in the lineup, my heart still skips a beat because I'm thinking something today could happen with this guy. He could completely miss a ball, gift a goal, get a red card. Something could happen with this guy. You just don't trust him.
Yeah, just in case you're joining the chat, shout out to the 35 people in the chat. We were talking about the legend Mustafi, and you can send in your questions. We'll answer them at the end. But let me spoil this guy's days even more. Their day even more. Sam Stan Kroenke. Did you expect him to give any money? Even before he got Stan Kroenke, just to add on Mustafi, I always say Mustafi, even if he wins the Ballon d'Or today, I still wouldn't trust him to defend tomorrow. That's how bad it is. So, Stan Kroenke, did you expect him to give any money?
To be very honest, no, I didn't expect it because it just didn't look like it was going to happen. And going on previous experience, of course, I just didn't really expect it. But I'm so happy that some funds had been authorized to do this because that money that was paid into La Liga to pay the release clause of Thomas Partey, a lot of that money has come from I think from KSE because that's not money we generated from sales. We sold Martinez and that's it. So that money had to come from them. So I think there's been like a budget there. Of course, we don't know what goes on behind the scenes. All this speculation, everything. We don't know what's going on there behind the scenes in the club. And for Arsenal, we're like the 9th richest club in the world, according to the Forbes list, 8th or 9th, something like that. Listen, the club has money. Of course we do. The way we want to spend it, of course, is a different thing. The self-sustaining model. We want to do things a smart way. We don't want to overspend, etc. That's fine. But the club has money. There's money there. And so I'm sure there was some kind of budget in place where they said, listen, we're going to authorize you can use up to this amount of money on players today. I'm sure there was some kind of budget in place for Edu and Vinay to use, authorized by the Cronkies. And that's what they did. They got it going, and I thought it was I know it's a whole different discussion. I'm not going to spend much time on it now, but it's actually it's the strategy used to wait until the last day to release his release clause was absolutely incredible. That strategy is incredible because all the time it was about not revealing their hand to Lyon, because Lyon have a notorious owner, the Aulas, who is a terrible, terribly unreliable negotiator. You just can't trust him for 2 seconds. Always backwards and forwards and lying and backwards, up and down. So I think Arsenal waited. They wanted to wait as late as they could because they wanted OR. They were going for OR. They were negotiating with OR. I think they had huge problems negotiating OR with Aulas because they wanted a lot more for him than what Arsenal thought it was realistic to pay. But if they'd have gone in like early in the summer or the first part of the transfer window and paid 45 million for Partey, what does that do to our hand? To negotiate with Lyon, we can't negotiate with Lyon then because they're just like, well, you just paid 45 million for Partey. Give us our 60 million. We want it. So that was brilliant strategy by Arsenal. You can see that now how they actually held off on Partey to try and get OR for the price they wanted. And then when OR and everything finally fell through, then they said, okay, let's go for Partey. And it was done in a brilliant way. And the cherry on the cake, the icing on the cake was, I just loved the fact that we just paid La Liga, told Partey, get your skates on, you're going to go and get a medical, you're coming to us. And everything was done, sealed, delivered, without even talking to Atletico Madrid. I love that so much because those guys, Atletico Madrid, him as being one of them, they are so horrible. They're so horrible, those people, the way they negotiate, the way they try and, stick you for money and try and make things as difficult as possible. To actually be able to do that without even talking to Atletico Madrid, I just love that so much. That was just so incredible.
Yeah. Gary, just a quick one on Kroenke. Do you trust him?
I don't think I trust him because I think he's not aware of what's going on with his business. If he was, then certain things that have happened in the past probably wouldn't have happened. I mean, I think it's a self-sustaining model, but it's not, that model's not working the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
And if you're looking at the numbers, they're not things don't add up. And if that's the case, then you're going to be losing money because your worth is not as much. The team doesn't look as good on paper anymore if they can't compete for championships, because that's what people want to see, and that's what makes the team the worth of the team better. So he needs to have seen that, and if Casey did in fact sign the check that said, let's bring him in, and that's kind of what we were hoping for anyways, because we knew that this was to me, I think it was a good time to do it, because that at least the Partey one, I guess, was a cheaper of the two options that we had, because OR at least seemed like it was starting at 60 mil to start with. So if we weren't going to get the numbers that we wanted, which were way off from what Atletico Madrid wanted, then then 50 mil is that's a flat rate. You knew nothing else was going to happen. Nothing else extra was going to happen. And I feel like Arsenal did what they needed to do with that. If that's their process, if that's how La Liga works, you just put the money down and the players come into you.
Interesting.
Yeah, if that's the way their process works, then
it's to do with the release. If you have a release, the way it works is if you have a release clause in the contract in Spain, that money you just have to pay to La Liga. What the process is, you pay it to the Football Association, La Liga. They handle the transfer and then pay the club. You don't have to talk to the club because the release clause has to be handled by the Football Association. If it's a normal negotiation, if there's no release clause, it's a normal negotiation about we want to buy the player for this amount of money, then of course you have to talk to the club and negotiate with the club. But here, when it was a release clause, we didn't have to talk to them at all, and that was just amazing.
So it doesn't matter whether the club want him to stay or not.
Doesn't matter, because the release clause is in his contract. You talk to La Liga and you say to Liga, we of course the player has to want to come. You have to talk to the player so they're aware of it that they want to come. The player has to agree that they want to come, and then they pay the money to La Liga, the Spanish FA, for that release clause, that amount of money. It has to be in full. There's no installments there. It has to be the whole amount. And then what happens then, the player is then released to talk to the club. negotiate with the club, and then sign a contract, and that can all be done without Atletico, the owner of the player, being notified until it's happened. When the release clause is paid, then the club gets notified by the Spanish FA. So the Spanish FA told them the release clause has been paid. Partey is now in negotiations with Arsenal. That was what they was notified. But Arsenal didn't have to talk to Atletico. The Spanish FA did. But what is normal apparently in these type of situations is there will be a courtesy call from the club who's buying. They will call them as a courtesy saying, listen, we're going to pay the release clause today. This is what's going to happen, blah, 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 as a courtesy. So they're aware. But apparently no one from Arsenal called Atletico today. I mean, yes.
That's so Arsenal.
Yeah, I felt like they didn't have time.
It was only down to the Spanish FA. They notified them and said, listen, the release clause has now been activated. He is in negotiations with Arsenal. If they do it before the deadline, then he's an Arsenal player, and that's what happened.
Yeah, so I'm guessing having a release clause is a bad idea then, because they don't.
It is a bad idea, and that's why his contract. He signed a long-term contract a few years ago with that clause in it, which back then I think was kind of reasonable, but now he's become a better player with a higher reputation, where then that amount of money is not so much anymore. And they also got to remember, before the end of last season, Atletico Madrid also offered him a better contract with a much higher release clause. So, and he rejected it. He didn't want the contract because he wanted to go somewhere else. That he had always had it in his head. He wanted to go somewhere else. So he rejected their contract. He didn't sign the new contract with Atletico Madrid. So they basically knew he wanted to go. And that's the way it works in Spain, which is quite brilliant, really, because you don't have to involve the club when it comes to release clause. Because in England, you have to, the release clause, yes, if you pay the release clause in full, yes, of course, that gets activated. The club has to let the player negotiate to leave. But the money gets paid to the club, not to the English FA. So that you have to pay the money directly to the club and notify them you're paying the release clause.
Yeah, since we're already on Partey, Gary, of course, we are being linked to two players. Between Aouar and Partey, which one did you want most?
I wanted Partey. I understand the pluses for having Aouar, but I felt like, we needed that. You needed to solidify our back line and the defense in front of it. I believe that was my preference. I felt like we had enough attacking threats on the team to cover, but I felt like our defense was lacking and kind of put a lot of strain on our goalies, and the ball never made. I feel like with him there, the ball's going to be able to move forward a lot easier, knowing that he's there behind whoever's sitting in front of him. So I think Partey was my preference.
Sam?
Yeah. I agree completely. He gives us that protection in midfield that we've been lacking for so long. It means that with him there, with his dynamic playing ability, being able to go both ways, brilliant defensively, very good with the ball as well. It means we can be a lot more flexible in the way we play. We can actually start switching. Formations. Because with him, you can play with him, you have the solidity to play a 4-3-3. You can also use our 3-4-3 we're playing now, that hybrid system. But you can also, like I said, you can also switch to a 4-3-3. This guy gives you that flexibility because you give the defence and the central midfield that protection you need. And that's what this is the type of player, this strong, dynamic, defensive-minded player in midfield that we've been lacking basically since Vieira left. This is the player we wanted to bring in since Vieira left. So it's taken us 15 years. 15 years to get in a player that is of a similar. I'm not saying he's as good as Vieira. That's not what I'm saying, but he's a similar mold, similar type of player who's going to come in and hopefully do the same type of job. That we've been lacking for all that time. And finally getting it. So for me, that was much more important to fill that type of role and give us that flexibility than with Aouar, because with Aouar, yes, a very good player, very good creative player, he would only really be helping us creatively. He wouldn't really be helping us, defend or protect our midfield, which we need.
Yeah. So there's a time that it looked like we weren't going to get any of them. And we were going to get someone called Jorginho. I don't know you guys' reaction, but this was me trying to hold back Arteta from getting Jorginho. And then I was like, as an Arsenal fan, it's the hope that kills you. I was like, no, come on, guys. So I don't know, Sam, how did you feel about Jorginho? Is it a guy? Is he a guy that you are interested in?
On the face of it, no, because he's not a primary target. He's not that level of player we want to bring in, of course.
Yeah.
But I will say this, and I said this on the podcast I was on at the time yesterday, that if we had got into a situation where he was the only player we were realistically going to bring in, I would have said yes, because for me, this is my opinion. For my opinion, he's better than Xhaka. He gives us more than what Xhaka gives us. So I would rather have a Jorginho instead of a Xhaka, and say, okay, that makes us 10% better, which is an improvement, which is what we want. I'd rather do that than not do anything, because it's all about improving. Even if it's a small, tiny step, for me, it's about improving. And with Jorginho, yes, I know he's not everyone's favourite. I know he's a limited player in different ways, but for me, he's a small step up from Xhaka. We could have taken Xhaka out of the team, put Jorginho in there, paired him with Ceballos. I think that would have worked quite well. But of course, he is third or fourth choice. For me, it was all about Partey or Aouar. Of course, that's what it was all about.
How about you, Gary? Are you excited about it?
No, I mean this is similar to the Coutinho talk that we had earlier in the year, and it was like, no, if you're looking at those other two players, let's focus on those two first before we focus on a third option, and he was similar to that. I mean, I think he's got it. The only way he would be able to play for us, right, is if he could be, if he's better than Xhaka, because he won't get to take the penalty kicks, because I think we got the penalty kicks. We got our cool under pressure penalty kicker right now in Amesley. So I think we needed depth, right? So he would improve our depth, because who plays behind Xhaka right now that would provide similar performance. He would do, I think, hopefully at least that. So then we would have some support, when we need to rest, Xhaka, because right now it seems, in the past, it always seemed like if he was out of the game, we weren't going to be able to do what we needed. So he would have provided depth. I don't know if the cost would have, warranted it. Maybe we would have to spend too much on him, but he definitely would have helped. And depth is something that we know we need that now still. So.
Yeah, I actually agree with Sam, not because he was better than Xhaka, but there's a time I was like, you know what, we only have Xhaka, Elneny, and Ceballos in midfield, 4 competitions to tackle. Can we really go with 3 midfielders? What happens if Xhaka is suspended or something? So there's a time I was just like, you know what, just bring him, at least squad depth. When we played West Ham, they had a better bench than ours in terms of midfield, just because we have a couple of youngsters on the bench, and then Elneny defensive, Willock, not sure, Xhaka defensive. So I was like, just bring him. So for me, would you go back for him, Sam? Yes or no?
Pardon, what you say?
Would you go back for him again, or it's done?
No. Now we've got Partey. No. We got no Jorginho. No. We got Xhaka as backup, right?
True. Gary, no.
No, we have other areas that we need to get right. We need to help either Tyranny, or we need to find another. I think there's other areas that we need on the pitch that with Partey there now. I think we've got what we needed, but we need some some help other places. That if we could get that would be nice. But definitely, I think it's okay. He can stay where he's at. We're okay for now.
True. Yeah. So let's get to the main man himself, Sam. How did you feel when you heard we were going back for this guy? Were you confident you're going to get him, or were you like, we're going to blow it again?
I tell you what, I wasn't confident until basically all the the well-known in the know to call them that. All the well-known in the know journalists were basically saying towards the end of the evening that everything was done, the medical was done, he was just signing the paperwork was just getting done, that the transfer will be done, everything looks okay. It was only then that I felt like, okay, it's actually happening. Because before then, I always felt there was some chance of something going wrong or, something happening, and I just couldn't get myself to think it was actually happening until it happened. That, those late messages started coming in. I think they started coming in about, UK time, like about 10 o'clock, 9:30, 10 o'clock UK time. So, yeah, it wasn't really until then I sort of felt like, wow, yeah, this is really happening. And, of course, I was absolutely over the moon because this guy, this is the number one transfer target we've had all summer, all off season. So, I'm really happy we've actually managed to land this target. He's been such a big player, and many clubs wanted him as well. There's we saw Chelsea. We saw there were quite a few clubs after him, and he wanted to come to us. And listen, it's a great signing. It's the type of signing we've not made for many, many years that we should have made. And I just really hope he hits the ground running. That he doesn't need a lot of time to bed in and figure out the way of playing in the Premier League. Because I tell you what, if this guy can bed in and gel with our team, he's going to be amazing. He's going to be incredible.
Gary, I saw someone asking yesterday or suggesting that this is our biggest ever deadline day signing. Do you agree? There's the likes of Ozil, Denis Suarez on that list. Do you agree it's the biggest ever?
Where we are today, yes, I definitely believe that. I mean, we knew, I think in the mid part of the window, we assumed, all right, well, we'll get one of the two top players that we wanted. We'll get one of them. And then with a week to go, I basically had resigned to the fact that, we're just gonna have to do with what we got. I'll be fine. I'm done because this is too much. This is too much stress on me trying to figure out whether they're coming or whether they're going. And you know what? So I said, you know what? I'm fine. I'll stick with what we got, and I can cheer us on with what we had. I think Arteta has shown he's been able to improve things from hopefully game to game and week to week. So I'll go with that. And then, like you said, we started seeing a couple of, I think there were like 2 Twitter handles out there that started posting things, and one of them I was like, the day before, that person was like, yeah, I think it's gonna be it might be a quiet time for us unless there's some outgoing, but otherwise nothing's gonna happen. And then as soon as he posted, it's going to happen, I was like, cool. And then the next thing there was war talk, and I'm like, oh boy, are they teasing us again? And then it was more and more, and then every hour there was something else that kind of added on to this. Yeah, it's going to happen. And another hour goes by, and more is happening. Yeah. He's supposedly flying to London, all this stuff. He's taking the physical. There's fake pictures of him out there taking the physical, and it's like, all right, I guess maybe it's going to happen because it did. I mean, I'm glad
the worst thing maybe. The worst thing that could have happened is him failing the medical. That would have been so Arsenal, by the way, because our luck, it's not like Mustafi's luck. Arsenal's luck, it's not like Mustafi's luck. So
no, Mustafi's a whole special type of luck. Yeah.
So let's talk about the last signing. Of course, we don't know much about Tronason, but this guy, Sam, what have you made of him so far?
I think he's a good signing because he definitely gives us something we've been lacking on the right-hand side there. Because for me, Pepe hasn't been performing. He hasn't really been doing what he should be doing there on the right-hand side. And Willian has come in and done that. I think, he hasn't been up to his absolute best since the first game against Fulham, but he's still done okay. And you can see there's a difference. There is a difference in him with what he brings to the team. You can just see there's a better fluidity there with the way he passes and moves, and he just adds more to our attack than what Pepe has previously done. And so I think he's a good signing. Listen, he comes for free, So I think we've done a good bit of business. It could be more of a mentor for Martinelli and Saka. You know, he can give them a good mentorship and I think he's a good signing for free. You know, I think he's a good addition. We have to take that into account. You know.
Yeah, Gary, Willian, would you try and fit Willian and Pepe at the same time, or do you prefer one of them?
I think based on what we saw, it's probably something we can do towards the end of the game. I think whoever comes in, one of the two needs to come in and play maybe most of the game. And then if we need to do something on the offensive side, we can bring in, we could have both of them play together. I definitely would like to see, after seeing what I saw, I'm looking forward to however we can get Pepe, Alba, Saka, and then somebody behind them. I'm looking forward to seeing that on a regular basis when we need it. I think just similarly to Luis, William hopefully is that mentor that we need to help the younger kids, the players that just need a little push as to here's how you do it, because William's first game, that Pepe should be watching it every day to remember this is what we want out of that position. This is what we want to see. It's not only just on the offensive side when you got the ball. It's also maybe coming, some of the defense, because I think Pepe needs to be able to do both when we need it. So I think that I'm hoping that, Pepe is seeing how professional at that position works and be able to use that. I mean, Saka's always to me seemed like he does well every time I see him out there on the field. He's always making the runs. He just doesn't, But I think Pepe may need that little bump, and hopefully William's the guy to do that.
Yeah, we can only play 11 players, by the way, Gary. Obama, William, Pepe, Saka in the middle, Sabayos and Awar behind them. It's only 11 players,
But when it comes to Pepe, though, I think Pepe showed in that last game now against Sheffield United that the way we need to play Pepe, this is what I've been saying all along, is if we're playing a team that's lying deep and not pressing us, we can't play Pepe, because Pepe is not good for me against an established defence. They're just showing him out wide. They're on his right foot that he basically can't use. He only uses it to stand on his right foot. He can't use it, and he's very ineffective when a defence is compact and sitting deep. But when they're pressing us, and we can get in behind with a direct pass in behind, that's when he's really good. When we can put Pepe in behind the defence, running in behind the defence with a direct pass in behind the defence. You saw that happen a few times towards the end of the game against Sheffield United. That is where he came into his own. When he was running at one or two players without a defence behind him, he was getting that space, and he could get that shot off. So for me, if we're playing a team with a high line that we know is going to press us high, that's where we can use Pepe more effectively in behind, and we have to play direct, quick football in behind the defence to utilise him and get the best out of him. Because as I said, if we're using him in games where we have all the possession and they're just sitting deep, then he's completely ineffective. He's not good enough to he's good enough. I mean, really, but he's not playing well enough to be able to break down those lines, and then they just show him out wide, and he can't really pass the ball in and all that. He's much better running at a defence, in behind defence. That is where he's much better, and that's where Willian comes in, where he's showing that when you're playing against a deep lying defence, a set defence, he is better at that. He links better with the other players around him, and he gets in behind better when there's less space. And for me, he performs that much better against a defence that sits deep, and that's where he comes in and does a good job.
Yeah, the next topic will be like an alley hoop to the next topic after that. So, just to quote Nas, just to quote the legend Nas, can we please have a moment of silence for this guy? Sam, how bad did you feel when you heard that he's gone?
Listen, of course, it's terrible news, isn't it? You don't want to see like a mascot being furloughed or I don't know if he was furloughed or terminated or whatever it was. But listen, of course you don't want to see this type of thing. He's an important figure at the club. I mean, he's a mascot. He's been the mascot at Arsenal for God knows how many years. At least the Gunnosaurus, figure has, and it's just you don't want to see that. I mean, you don't want to see the mascot of the club furloughed or laid off or whatever the hell happened today, or yesterday or whatever it was yesterday. And what makes it even worse is the guy's not. He's only on a normal, regular, standard wage of like £30,000 per year, right? Mm-hmm. He's on a third of the wages of what most of our first team players make per week. Mm-hmm. They make 3 times more than him per week, and this guy makes 30,000 a year, and they can't keep him in his job. I mean, to me, that just it's not right. It's not right for the mascot to have to go. I know why, because there's no fans, there's nothing really happening at the stadium now because of the COVID regulations, blah blah blah. But listen, it's £30,000 you're paying him until the fans come back. You're telling me Arsenal Football Club can't find £30,000 to keep this guy at work? I mean, no. It just feels all wrong and looks all wrong to me.
Yeah, I'll tell you why they can't find that kind of money. Gary, I'll give you Gunnosaurus and this guy. Sam, this is why we can't find that kind of money. Gary, how do you feel about it? He has offered to pay the wages, though.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how. I guess it's like, what is the motive here behind that? What is the motive? I mean, I just that letting Gunnosaurus go, that just has a bad look. It puts a bad taste in your mouth. Him standing up saying, "I'll pay for it." Is it for Gunnosaurus? Is it for the man inside the Gunnosaurus? Is it for the team? What is it? Is it for him? Is it make the team look bad? We don't know. I just I would like him to stand up and talk when it's like, yes, I'm ready to play and I am playing, and the coach is going to put me in, and the coach does put him in because of his play on the field. I would like to see that. I mean, if he's, because I don't, it's not really worth talking about too much. I mean, I would like, if he can play, they would have played him by now. That's not happening. Yeah. So, I just assume that they just pay the rest of his salary and let him go. Because we'll find out whether or not he's one of the 25 that stays. But if he doesn't, then at least we won't have to. There's no chance of him playing at least until January, and maybe for the rest of his time. I think it's kind of that elephant in the room that you just wanted to get out because there's not enough space. Let's move on from this one, and yeah.
Let me go through the comments before we get into your starting lineups with Partey. Clearly, why not Sentiment FC is not happy with that. Let's see. Musab Farah says, please Ozil in the squad. We'll come back to that. We'll see if Sam and Gary will put him in the squad. Sentiment also says Guendouzi was good for drawing fouls. Stu FC, thank you for being here. He says, it's taking a bit of time to load. Unless it is Sabias to partner Partey, it is a complete waste of time. He has grown around selfless players under Simeone. Xhaka is a self-centered egotist and antithesis of anything Partey forwards. Sabias always offers angles to assist others. Answering your title, no, it's not enough. Talking about the transfer. Ozil now should be given a chance. Sam, you see where we're going with this? There's a lot of Ozil comments. I would like to improve on Sabias. Do you think Arteta will try? And we'll come back to your question. Ozil must be back in the number 10 role. He won't be needed in defense. Ozil will be back.
No, he won't.
Sam, Oh, 10, 11 comments of Ozil.
Because these
I
people
love
are
my
crazy.
club, Arsenal. Yeah. Adel, I love that. We all love the club. It feels might just be our season. It could be. We are now benefiting from structural change. In fact, let me just give you guys these questions before we go into your lineups. Gary Big Dan asked, "Do you think Arteta will try and integrate Ozil back into the team?"
I don't think he will. I think he's got bigger things to worry about now, and Ozil is like low on the poll on the list of things that are going to help the team move and get to where he wants to be. No, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think so. Yeah, no. No, I mean, I just like I said, I just assume they just tell him, you're not playing for Arsenal anymore, and then just pay his salary because that's what they're doing. They've wanted to try to move him on. He doesn't want to go. That hasn't worked out for them. So, and it's not. I think for morale, team morale, I don't think it helps because it's kind of the thing that everybody talks about.
Okay, Sam. Before we go to the starting lineups, kind of away from the topic, but he asked, "Do you think we can compete with Tottenham?"
Yes, I do. We're still better than them on paper now. They've got Mourinho, yes. We were unlucky, I think, against them last time. We had some chances to draw and win that game. We were unlucky, but I think we play Tottenham again. We'll beat them. I really do. I don't think they're a better team than us.
Yeah, with Partey in the middle, I don't think they wouldn't be able to pressure us like they have in the past, I believe. And then with Gabriel there behind him, I mean, just those two players will make a difference from the past games that we had where we've been a little suspect on the back line. I think the defense in front of Leno will be much better. I mean, we saw that in the last game, right? At one point, they'd only taken one shot and a half. It's been a while since I've seen something like that from an Arsenal defense, regardless of which team we're playing. So. So I think we'll be better defensively, and that's going to help us.
Okay, Sam, who's your goalkeeper? Starting lineup with Partey. Who's your goalkeeper?
It's going to be Runason. No, it's not. It's going to be. Of course, it's going to be Leno. Of course, it's got to be our goalkeeper.
Gary, you agree? Of course. Unless,
definitely. Yeah, we don't have a choice there. No choices.
Let me ask.
Okay,
let me ask you guys for your formation first. Your main formation. I know you can play differently against different clubs, but your main formation, Sam.
I think I would personally like to see us stick with a 3-4-3, just because it's been working well. Yeah.
Gary.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we had a little teaser there with that, the 4-3-3 that we played in the league cup,
Sheffield,
and the last game. So I thought, so against Liverpool. So I think that's the future. But I think we're just going to stick with a 3-4-3 for now until we get, people acclimated to the team, and then we can start, because the formations move anyways, right? So the formations are consistently moving. When we have possession, when we're out of possession, when we're attacking. So eventually, we'll. So I think it's just a progression that we have. We went from playing probably a standard 3-4-3 to now we're actually making changes on the fly. So I think, the next progression we'll just start in the formation that he wants, and then rotate when we need to going forward.
Okay, Sam, give me a back three, Sam.
So my back three then would be, I'd like to see. So if everyone's fit, I'm kind of wanting to see. I'd like to see Gabriel on the left at the back, and I'd like to see maybe Pablo Mari in the middle, and then I'd like to see. I suppose I'll give it to. Yeah, I can't really say Saliba because we don't really know what he's like. Really, I'd love to see him come in, but no, I think what I think we'll probably see is we'll see David Luiz.
I want yours. If you are the manager today, if everyone's fit, if everyone's fit, I would have a back three of.
I would probably right now. I would have. I would probably go with David Luiz in the middle, just because he gives us a little bit more. I'd go Gabriel left side, and right side. I'd probably go. Maybe Holding. It's difficult to say. I'd probably go Holding, even though he hasn't had the best of games lately. I would say maybe Holding. It's slightly ahead of Mustafi.
So Gabriel, Luiz, and Holding.
Yeah.
So disrespectful to Cannavaro, but we move. Gary, who's back four?
Oof.
Back three, isn't it? We're going to back three, aren't we? Or is he going for?
No, I'm asking you according to what formation you gave me.
Gary went 4-3-3, did he? Okay,
yeah, I was kind of hoping for a back four.
Yeah,
but,
sure, yeah.
So I guess I would have. I guess it would be Tierney on the left, and then the center backs of Luiz and Gabriel, and then on the right. I mean, I personally would like to probably. I feel like I wouldn't mind putting Ainsley out there, but I know Holdings is. Holdings actually show. I think it would be fine there as well. But I feel like I might go Ainsley maybe on the right, even though I know he's. Yeah.
So Ainsley, Tierney, Luiz, and Gabriel for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so Sam, your wing backs.
I'll be Tierney out left, and I'd have Bellerin out right. Bellerin looked a bit better in that last game. So
okay. Gary, your three in midfield.
Three in midfield. Well, I guess. And this is now, right? So we're gonna have Partey there, right?
No, when everyone is fit. Who would you go for in midfield?
In midfield. So Partey will be there, right? I say Ceballos. I mean, I feel like Ceballos, and I think I like Saka maybe playing in there in the middle.
Partey, Saka, and Ceballos. Okay.
Yeah. I feel like because that would get Saka on the field is what I feel. With what we've done in the past. So. Okay,
Sam, your two in the middle.
Yeah, so that's going to be Partey and Ceballos. Partey slightly deeper, and Ceballos, a bit more attack minded.
So let's keep with you, Sam. In front, the three in front.
Yeah, so with everyone fit and the way I want to play, I would like to have. I'd like to have Saka left. I'd like to have Aubameyang in the middle, and I'd like to have. I'll probably have. It's difficult to say. If Pepe's playing as he should be, I might have him. But yeah, Willian probably. Willian outright.
So on your bench, you'd have Lacazette, Pepe, Xhaka, all on your bench. Niles.
Yes.
Okay. Gary, your front three.
Yeah. Now that I'm thinking of my front three, I just put Saka already on the midfield, right? So I guess now I'm going to have to. So I'm going to go with what I think Arteta is going to do. I guess with that, and that to some degree, because I think he's probably going to. As much as I would like to see Alba in the middle, I don't think I'm going to see that right away, and I don't think it's going to be a while, maybe until we're doing it consistently.
Okay.
So
okay. So
Alba on the left.
If you put Alba in the middle, who would you have on the flanks?
Well, that would probably switch around kind of how my midfield would go, because Saka definitely I would feel like could go on the left, and then it would be William or Pepe on the right hand side is what I would feel would happen there. So that's kind of how I would see that going. If we, if I'm thinking of myself, so then I would kind of change my midfield a little bit, and probably I feel like El Neni is safe because I know what I'm going to get. Xhaka, I don't know what I'm going to get on a regular basis. So if I wanted to get the most out of the players in the midfield, I could see El Neni going in there in that midfield, and then Xhaka moving up to the left. So because I feel like we would, you know what you're going to get, and I think Arteta likes that. He likes to know, I'm going to put you out there. How are you going to do? And he can work with that. The unknowns of Xhaka, I think, are the things that he can't. It's hard for him to know from game to game what he's going to get. So
yeah. So on your bench, you'd have the likes of Lacazette. If Aubameyang is playing in the middle too, so that's a strong bench. That's a good headache to have, because there's a time we had a headache of who can we play between Sanogo and Shamak Bentner? Who can we play between Manon and Almunia? That was a bad headache. So this is a good headache. At least we actually do have players. So as I said to Sam early, in the last video I did about how Arsenal could line up with Partey, there was so much abuse on why I didn't include Ozil. They're all here. If you want to go, if you want to go check the last video and you read the comments, feel free. But I'll read for you a couple. You are an a-hole. Where's Ozil in your squad?
Have they watched him play? Have they actually watched him play?
Your lineup is very good, but Ozil must stay. Your lineup is good, but Ozil must play.
Why must he play?
A lot of Ozil. I need Ozil as the attacking midfielder. Where is Ozil? You know what? I won't mention the word. Yeah, so there's.
Well, I think it's the same thing with Guendouzi, because Guendouzi has talent to be in the starting 11. He just is not going to be there with Arteta manning the ship. They're not doing what he wants them to do, and he's shown that. You know what? If you're not doing what I need you to do, then you can't get out there. And Ozil's not doing what he needs to do, so he's got to step.
Okay, let me give you guys the last two questions. Sam, with Partey, can we finish in the top 4?
Yes. Very much more probable now. Yes.
Yes, I think so. Yep, definitely. I mean, yes.
Okay, so with us getting rid of Mkhitaryan on a free, giving Aubameyang a new deal, Ozil staying, Chambers staying, another one we didn't even talk about, Mustafi, Socrates, Kolasinac, getting Gabriel, sorting out kind of our spine with also Partey. What did you rate this transfer window, Sam? Out of 10. I'll
give it a solid. I would have to give it, because of the quality of players we've brought in. I would have to give it an 8. Because we brought in Gabriel who looks incredible. Because we've brought in Partey, who's our number 1 target. We did really well with that. For me, it becomes an 8 out of 10 with those two players. But of course, I'm a bit disappointed with not being able to get rid of more players, and we've only got rid of 2 players basically on loan. So, apart from Mkhitaryan, Mkhitaryan managed to get rid of him for free, but or else it's just Guendouzi on loan and it's Torreira on loan, isn't it? So we're talking first team. So yeah. But it's a bit disappointing we couldn't offload and actually sell some of the players we need to sell. So that's what brings it down a bit for me. But overall, we've got to be happy. We've got Partey coming in and look at what Gabriel is giving us. We've got to be happy with that. We've got to be happy with that window.
Arsenal Alex says top 6. I rate it 5 out of 10. Gary, 5 out of 10 or higher?
Yeah, I was going to when Sam was talking. I was thinking I had a 7 in my head, and the reason why is because of the outgoings. The outgoings brought us down. I think we needed to do more with that, and also I know we wanted to get another. We wanted to get that attacking mid or somebody in there to support, and we didn't do that either. So even if we didn't get our wall, we still didn't get at least our number 2 option that may provide more depth for us. So I felt like that's where it would have been a perfect transfer if we would have been able to offload some of the players and also improve the depth in the middle on the attacking side.
Yeah.
Let me give you this final question, Sam. Can we go with the 4-4-2? Can a 4-4-2 work right now?
Probably. It could do, but it's not the type of formation that Arteta's interested in. So, no, it's not going to happen.
Sinan had also said Gary Saliba on loan to Norwich because the English transfer window is still open for another week. Would you take him out on loan or keep him?
Saliba's a weird one, isn't he?
Yeah. The reason why I thought I think it's better he stays because I felt like who's going to be there for him, and that was the reason why they were going to let him go anyways, right? Is to go back to France to be close to the family. If that's the case, then who better than to support you than your team that is allowing you to go back home if it was going to work out. I feel I give a kind of a negative mark to the team because I think they knew long before yesterday that Saliba either needed to go back home or needed maybe to be in a different situation at this time in his life, and probably should have made that move a lot sooner. I mean, it seems like they did that at the last hour, and it if they were looking out for him, I felt like they could have done this a lot sooner. And going to Norwich, I feel like he's going to be out there by himself, and I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
Yeah, I always say in the previous streams, for anyone who's new, by the way, I always forget to ask for this, like every other YouTuber. If you're new here, make sure you click on the subscribe button and hit the like button. It will help my channel. Thank you very much. So I always say with Saliba, with Guendouzi, with Torreira, with Socrates, with Pepe, they are all signed by Emery. And they're not none of them is actually starting right now. So does that mean Ateta doesn't like them? Does it mean Emery was the fan and maybe Ateta is not a fan of Saliba the way he wants to play? Can that be the thing, Sam?
Well, I think Saliba is. I just don't think, because he didn't really get much. He didn't really get a season, did he? Last season, he only got a few games really in France. He was injured. I don't really think he had a proper season. I don't think he really developed the way we expected. And then at the same time, he has these off the field issues with his mother passing away. Tragically, of course. We of course we wish him the best and send him our condolences. But I just think from a footballing perspective, like I think Gary said before, I think we should have known before the last day of the transfer window that this kid is not going to be playing for us this season. I think that's what it looks like. I don't think he's ready to play for us because basically missing that season, last season to develop, which was supposed to be the idea. He was supposed to get that whole season in France to develop and then come to us, which made good sense, but it didn't happen. So I think we need to get him out a season somewhere to get that proper development. I think we should loan him out. And in terms of where we can loan him out, I don't know if we're allowed to loan to other Premier League teams now. I think it's just Championship and below, isn't it?
Yep.
I don't think that is that good enough level for him. Championship, I don't know. That's the problem, right? Because we don't want to send him to a too low level either, do we? So I don't know. It's a difficult one.
Arsenal Alex being a bit harsh there. He was only brought to make us happy. Sinan also says he's been a target for 2 years. Sinan says,
well, I feel like the reason why it was the deadline days because Arsenal was hoping that they would be able to get the Aouar thing sorted out so that they didn't. I mean, I think it was a package deal as to how they wanted to proceed. And I think when it finally, like Sam said, as soon as they realized, you know what, this isn't going to happen, and we have this option in our back pocket that it doesn't really matter when we decide to go after Partey, we can get him if we just put down the money. So I think they were trying to get some cost savings in one area, and also they were already dealing with Atletico, so they were trying to see if they could get something out of that as well. And they weren't able to. And, I think in their back pocket, they knew, you know what, worst case scenario, we get Partey, we keep Torreira, and we just move on. And they were able to actually get, Torreira to actually, go on a loan as well. So I think if that's what the process was, that's what they did. I think we'll probably never see, if any team has a player with a release clause on them that they suspect is too low, I think they're going to make changes pretty quickly on that. Pay the player. It's cheaper to pay the player than it is to lose them lose them at the end of the window, or even lose them for a lot less money than they expect it to be.
Yeah. Okay. Let's final question. I just need one number just so that we can end it. Our next 4 away games: Leeds away, Everton away. Okay, the first one is City away, United away, Leeds away, and Everton away. Sam, out of 12, those 12 points, just one number. How many points will you pick up?
Did you say we're playing City away, then we're playing
United away, Everton away, Leeds away?
Oh, that's tough games. Out of those 12, I'll be happy with 6 points.
Yeah, okay. And how many? That's what you'd be happy with. How many do you think we'll get?
I think we'll get 6 points. To be honest, I think we'll win a couple, or maybe lose a couple, or we'll draw. Draw them. I think it's going to be difficult to win those 4 games against those 4 teams, all of them. I can't really see us winning all of them, to be honest.
Gary?
Yeah, I mean, I had my worst case would be 3 because I just fear that run coming back and not being able to, players being out of the lineup for the Man City game, because they've been traveling and whatnot, not being ready to play. So I think those first 2 games might be a little tough for us, whereas the Manchester and Aston Villa games, I think, things will be back in the swing of things. There'll be games, 2 times a week and all that kind of thing, I think. So I have a feeling, I mean, I like the idea of 6, but I feel like depending on how we do it, who plays in that first game, that could, determine how we do in the Leicester City game. We would like to say we can get a point out of one of those 2, but I mean, I think 6, and I think we might seem bad. We might lose 2 games in a row, but I don't. But I feel like we can definitely get 6. But we'll see what happens. We'll see what that lineup is for Manchester City, and then know better.
Where's your confidence, guys? Thomas Partey, Arteta Masterclass, 12 points out of 12, 4-0 against City, 3-0 against United, and hammer Everton and Leeds. But no, I agree with Arsenal. Alex, 7 points. I think City away is always so hard for us, so probably lose that one. We draw at United and hopefully beat the other 2. Because maybe we have better attackers. I don't know about Everton, but yeah. Anyway, man. Sam, thank you for coming on. Where can they follow you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter. That's at 1980_Greenwood, and also I have a channel on YouTube. I'm not really on there very much. I was on there today doing a stream about the transfer window. I'm not really on there very much. That's Sam Greenwood TV. So if you could have a look and subscribe, that'd be great. But I'm mainly on these other guys' channels here to doing different stuff. So yeah, it's always good, always enjoyable. So thanks for having me, Glenn. And nice to see you again, Gary. And hopefully we see each other again soon.
No problem. And Gary, how about you?
Yeah, well, thank you, Glenn, for inviting me. Sam, it was good. Another pleasure to hang out with you and talk. I don't have a channel yet, but I am on Twitter. My Twitter handle is right there next to my name. So if you want to talk to me, you can there. I post out things once in a while, and so you can respond. I'm on the Arsenal fan circle as a regular there. So there's on Thursdays and Sundays that I'm on there. So you can see me there if you want. Definitely enjoyed having this time and talking about how things went his transfer window. Yeah.
Thank you very much, man. We almost going for 2 hours. So thanks to everyone who came to the chat. That was your transfer recap. We talked about nearly everyone, ins and outs. So thank you. Let me give you guys shout outs before I end it. Clivert, Musab, Waddell, Big Dan, Arsenal Alex, Why Not Sentiments, Tiu, Sinan, of course, Cookie, some really tough names, man. Sorry if I pronounce your name badly, but just you get it. Hillary, thank you, man. Thank you everyone who came on. That was your transfer roundup. We'll catch you again tomorrow with another live stream. Keep staying safe, and I'll talk to you guys later.